You're listening to the voice of the future, fighting for America every day. This is the Conservative Crusader, and here's your host, GOP Josh.
Welcome back. This is the Conservative Crusader. Our guest today is a 2016 Trump delegate to the Republican National Convention from Ohio. He was a 2016 Electoral College member for President Trump. He's the founder of Main Street Patriots and was the state chair for Tea Party Patriots way back in the beginning of the Tea Party movement. Joining me by phone is Ralph King. His name is King's Right Site on Twitter. Mr. King, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Josh. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you are too.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's start from the beginning of your political involvement. How did you get your start in politics?
Well, the city that I live in, I was married. Some things that I wasn't happy with, I saw being done. Went to a council meeting to share some things, and it was, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not right. And I knew what I was talking about was accurate. And it's like, wait a second, this is a bunch of bullcrap. And I seen how they would intimidate normal people. And I'm not one to be intimidated easy. And then it pretty much just started and ballooned from there about 20-something years ago. Then I got involved with the Cuyahoga County Republican Party. And like, boy, this is cool. And after 2 years, it was like, what the heck's going on? Third year, it was like, I think I'm getting screwed. I got to figure out how to fight this. And just went from there. Here I am today with you.
So you've always been a grassroots activist going back, like you said, 20-some years before I was even alive on the front lines of the grassroots battle.
From the very first day, it was, making that fight for the right reason. And the one thing that I've always lived by, and it's sort of the quote for the Main Street Patriots, it's not about left and right, it's about right and wrong.
So true. So correct. And I was mentioning something to my friend. I'm like, we need to stop with the left and right battle. We need to not attack, but talk to people on our own side because some of the right isn't right. So I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely.
So you were an alternative elector to the Republican National Convention for President Trump in 2016 here in Ohio, even though he didn't win the primary. Why did you and the other alternative electors decide to pledge for Trump so early on?
Well, what it was, at least for me, I was familiar with Donald Trump. He would get in on our state coordinator calls for Tea Party Patriots. And for me, when I looked at the stage and I seen Donald Trump, and then I seen a whole bunch of Republican retreads. And I seen people that didn't know how to win. We know the GOP doesn't know how to fight and win. And at that time, when I looked up there, it's like, you know what? Donald Trump's the only one that's going to be able to beat Hillary. And we needed to stop the Clinton machine. And at that time, he was the only one that was able to do it. Everybody had varying reasons, but most of it came back to he's the only one that we believe could stop Hillary.
And I completely agree. I have a picture of me. I mentioned it in the first segment of the show from fourth grade with my MAGA hat on because I've been following politics ever since really fourth grade and President Trump. So I agree with you there. And we're going to keep on with the original Trump alternative electors. You wrote a letter to the president about his endorsement of JD Vance in the Ohio Senate race. I want to read an excerpt from that letter. President Trump, this movement is about America first. While JD Vance may have apologized and now says nice thing about U.S. candidate Vance, the fact that JD Vance never wants to apologize for working against our movement and most importantly calling us, your original supporters, racist. Why did you decide to write this with the original Ohio Trump supporters?
Well, there was a letter that went out that was signed on by many of the county chairs and many of the Ohio Republican Party State Central Committee members. Donald Trump Jr. and JD Vance dismissed that as, well, that's just the establishment, that's just the rhinos. I knew the names of many of the people on there. That wasn't the case. So, I said, all right, I'm going to contact the original Trump people. I'm going to contact the ones of us that were on the ground floor, that was making the fight for Donald Trump before anybody supported him. And you're not going to dismiss us as swamp. You're not going to dismiss us as rhinos because we were the ones that were the boots on the ground, first ones out here fighting for you, Mr. Trump. So that's why, we got the original delegates to sign on to the letter, and lo and behold, we were dismissed by Donald Trump Jr. and JD Vance as establishment and rhinos, which is just a flat out lie on both of their parts.
Yeah, and that moved me on to my next point. There was you put a tweet out which violated Twitter rules. You were banned from posting on Twitter for this, and you sent me the tweet so I could have this. So thank you. You put Donald Trump Jr. is clueless and an elitist swamper. He is either a swamper or too stupid to see JD Vance and his Team Kasich buddies on campaign duped him into his father to endorse him. Did Twitter give you a reason why this was taken down?
It was hate speech, and it was violated their standards, which, I find that comical, laughable at best, and I find that just pretty much it reinforces that I was correct when I called Donald Trump Jr. an elitist swamper. Josh, you follow me on Twitter. I've said much, much worse, 10 times worse than that. I just find it funny. 2 hours after I tweet against JD Vance, the big tech muppet, and Donald Trump Jr., I get banned for something as innocent and as accurate of a statement such as that.
That's very true, and I've seen Don Jr. do the same thing to Josh Mandel. I'm not saying I support Josh Mandel. I'm just saying he does the same thing every day, posting this interview with his own establishment swamp. So he can call other people swamp, but he can't get caught out for the same thing.
Well, Josh, they do this they do this because this is red meat for them. They play to the lowest common denominator of people on our side of the political spectrum. Donald Trump Jr. said it's swamp, so it must be swamp. Well, you know what? Who was Donald Trump Jr. politically before his dad became president? If my father was a plumber, that doesn't automatically make me a good plumber. So just because Donald Trump was president, and look, he did some good things, and we did stop Hillary with Donald Trump, but that doesn't make Donald Trump Jr. politically smart or any better than any of us. I wonder how many phone calls Donald Trump Jr.'s made. I wonder how many doors Donald Trump Jr.'s made. Parachuting into an event, screaming, "This guy's swamp, this guy's a rhino," and then leaving. How grassroots activist is that? So that's pretty much as far as that tweet goes.
And I completely agree with you there. So Trump endorsed Vance, as we know, and at his rally, he also endorsed Frank LaRose for Secretary of State. Play clip.
Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Frank has our complete and total endorsement.
Just less than 20 minutes after this happened, Frank LaRose released his own press release saying he endorsed JD Vance for Senate in Ohio. This caught your attention, and you wrote this in the following press release. Frank LaRose has already violated our trust when he gave his endorsement of JD Vance in a backroom exchange for him getting an endorsement from President Trump. At an event leading up to the 2020 election, Frank LaRose stated, as quoted by Cleveland.com, "The people of Ohio need to know that their chief election officer is calling balls and strikes and running fair elections in partnership with each and every one of you." And if we move to the end, Ohio voters need to be assured our votes will count and that we will have free and fair elections. Because of his actions, I am calling for SOS Frank LaRose to immediately step down in his role as top election chief in Ohio. So why do you think LaRose changed his standards for the Secretary of State's office just all of a sudden, just flip-flopped?
Because Frank has been swamp and establishment since he first got elected. The integrity of Frank LaRose is already suspect even before this, from when he illegally moved an election. So Frank, moving from being a never Trumper, actually Frank LaRose was one of the top never Trumpers in Ohio in 2016. Because Frank's looking to run for either governor or senator in the future. And he thinks by endorsing JD Vance is a payback to Donald Trump for endorsing him, that they're going to come out and they're going to support him with his next political move. It shows Frank's just not that smart, because that's not how the game's played. Frank was duped. I'll say it right now. I will guarantee you, when Frank LaRose goes to run for another office, be it senator or governor, you will not see these people come running to his support to pay back the favor or bribe, whatever you want to call it. I think when you exchange something in exchange for something, it's a bribe in this deal. They're going to leave Frank high and dry. That's the way this game is played. Frank was outsmarted.
It's very true, and it's a quid pro quo. I mean, he traded his endorsement of Vance for an endorsement from Trump, and it just all kind of looped around there.
I would call it a quid pro quo. I would say that's maybe too nice. I would say you could, probably call it a bribe.
Yeah.
Because he was given something in exchange for him doing something. And for Donald Trump to endorse Frank LaRose, that shows he knows nothing about Frank LaRose. Mm-hmm. Frank LaRose, everything that President Trump said in his endorsement of Frank LaRose, the exact opposite is actually true of Frank LaRose. And I don't want to get on a soapbox here, Josh, but, the integrity of our elections, we just saw what happened. We just saw what happened with elections. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to have the top election chief supporting and endorsing a candidate in an extremely contested Senate race. How do any one of the other candidates, Senate candidates, know that Frank LaRose isn't going to be playing games to pay back President Trump? Because President Trump doesn't want to look bad if his big tech muppet and never Trumper JD Vance loses. So how do we know Frank's not going to play his game? We know there's already the swamp in Ohio. We know Frank LaRose is tied in with the swamp in Ohio. And we know Frank LaRose isn't above doing things illegally when it comes to election, thus the election that he moved previously. So how do the candidates know? How do the supporters of these candidates know? And how do the voters of Ohio know that we are going to have free and fair elections with integrity? We don't. Why? Because Frank LaRose sold himself out for an endorsement. That's why.
It's very true. He sold himself out, and he sold the integrity of our elections out. Do you see
Absolutely.
him? And you mentioned that he needs to step down. Do you think he will step down or even abstain from overseeing this election?
I got a chance of being skinny before Frank LaRose would do something like that. One, it takes integrity to do that. Frank LaRose has no integrity. So, no, he's not going to step down. This is part of his deal. He wants to try to deliver. He's going to make the reason he made those comments earlier in that article in 2020. When you look back, you look at the context and you look at everything. He was at that time, he was trying to keep his distance away from President Trump. Mm-hmm. Now that he wants an endorsement, he wants to be paid off for his favor. Now he's going to be all about President Trump. Well, in 2016, you've seen, I tweeted it, the tweet that Jay Hottinger posted of a guy with a manure field saying never Trump, and Frank LaRose retweeted it telling Donald Trump that this was Kasich country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Frank LaRose is a known Kasich person. JD Vance has Jay Shabria running his campaign. Jay Shabria, for anybody that doesn't know, has been a Kasich flunky for the longest time. He was in the Kasich campaign. He's one of J.D. Vance's top campaign people. So, I mean, you pretty much, and then you got President Trump, wittingly or unwittingly. If it's wittingly, it's like, why? Have you sold us out more than we know? Unwittingly, that's dangerous just as much. Somebody supporting Team Kasich. Mm-hmm. You don't have enough time on your show to go back through what we could talk about with Team Kasich and what Kasich's done in Ohio and how Kasich was against President Trump. So it's sort of comical that President Trump's endorsing Kasich people, the same Kasich people that us original delegates worked against and had to put up with, mm-hmm. and the same Kasich that is still against President Trump. And he's got Trump doing his dirty work in Ohio for him.
That's very true. What can pro-election integrity Ohioans do about this? What can we do to stand up to the corrupt endorsements?
Stand up to the corrupt endorsement? Well, I think you can call Frank LaRose's office. You could ask him to step down. He's not going to. I would say anywhere that you see JD Vance or Frank LaRose, which I believe they're going to be doing something this weekend, we may be putting something together to go protest that. And people just need to be vocal. They need to go on JD Vance's pages, let people know, look, JD Vance, we don't want you shoved down our throat by anybody. Any one of the other candidates in the race, Mark Bakita, Mike Gibbons, Josh Mandel, Jane Timken, and even the woke Dolan and his guardians. These guys are out there working for our support. They're out there working to earn our support and earn their votes. They're not mailing it in last minute like JD, coming in with out-of-state people telling us who should vote for him and trying to buy an election on TV. So, people need to remain active and vigilant and push back against this. And the best way to speak out against that endorsement is to make sure that we collectively as Ohioans defeat JD Vance, unless Frank is so.
That's very true. So one more policy question and political question. Do you think President Trump should run in 2024 at this point right now if the election was tomorrow?
If the election was tomorrow, would I vote for President Trump? Not a chance. Look what he just did to us. And this is a guy that, I helped get the delegates for in 2016. I served on the Electoral College for him. I had boxes and boxes of mail from the faithless electors telling me don't support President Trump and the Electoral College. I put on rallies and events for President Trump the first day of the RNC convention as Main Street Patriots. We put on over 130 rallies in 26 states on the same day in 2017 in support of President Trump. And what I just saw President Trump's actions in Ohio the last couple of weeks, I don't know if he necessarily supports us. And his movement and what we're doing isn't about any one man. It's about doing the right thing. It's about the U.S. Constitution. It's about standing up for good government. If a candidate or an individual reflects that, then we support him. Mm-hmm. We don't support anybody like an idol or an icon just because they are a human. There's only one person we all support like that, and that's God, Jesus. Not an individual, not a human being. And this is about earning our support. And what I just seen, I would have a hard time voting for President Trump if the election was held tomorrow. Would he want my support back? I don't know. One way to get it back is rescind the endorsement of JD Vance, put the integrity back in our elections, rescind the endorsement of Frank LaRose, and we know neither one of those is going to happen. And, I think there's a guy from Florida. I can't remember his name. Is it DeSantis, maybe?
DeSantis.
Yeah, interesting, huh, Josh?
I completely agree. I'm leaning to that'd be the first election I can vote in is the Republican primary in 2024. So I'm leaning towards DeSantis right now, but we'll have to see. So
wouldn't that be a heck of a splash for you to make in your first vote, young man?
I know. So where can people find you, follow you, keep up with you, etc.?
I will be back on Twitter. I believe I call it my JD Vance Donald Trump Jr. ban lasts for another 2 hours. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm a very easy person to find and interact with.
All right. Well, thank you. That is Ralph King. He was an original Trump 2016 delegate and a member of the Electoral College, founder of Main Street Patriots. Follow his Twitter, King's Right Site. Ohio, make sure you get out and vote on May 3rd. It is crucial. My name is GOP Josh. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Conservative Crusader.